Hello there. Today we are diving into a critical topic, corruption in Singapore. Today we'll discuss the legal penalties and some issues that foreigners who come to Singapore may not be aware of. Singapore is renowned for its strict laws and zero tolerance policy towards corruption. This has played a significant role in establishing the country's reputation for integrity and transparency. However, corruption can still occur and the consequences are severe. The primary legislation governing corruption in Singapore is the Prevention of Corruption Act, or the PCA. So under this act, both giving and receiving bribes are criminal offences. Now let's talk about the definition of corruption. The Prevention of Corruption Act defines corruption broadly to include any act of corruptly giving, receiving, soliciting, or agreeing to receive any gratification as an inducement or reward for performing or abstaining from performing any act in relation to the principal's affairs or business. Now let's move on to the scope of application of the Prevention of Corruption Act. The PCA applies to both public and private sectors, ensuring that all forms of corruption are addressed. It covers individuals and corporate entities, thus making it a robust tool for fighting corruption. The Corrupt Practices Investigation Bureau, CPIB, is empowered under the PCA to investigate any suspected corruption offences. The CPIB operates independently and reports directly to the Prime Minister, which highlights the importance of the CPIB's role in maintaining integrity in Singapore. So what are the penalties for corruption in Singapore? Here are the key points. Number one, imprisonment. Offenders who bribe or receive bribes can face up to 5 years in prison for each charge of corruption. But if the corruption involves a government contract or public sector employee, the imprisonment term can extend to 7 years or more. Next, fines. Individuals found guilty of corruption can be fined up to 100,000 Singapore dollars for each charge. In cases involving significant sums of money or high-ranking officials, the fines can even be higher. There are also additional penalties besides imprisonment and fines. The courts can also order a person receiving a bribe to pay an additional penalty equal to the amount of the bribe. This ensures that the offender does not benefit financially from their corrupt actions. In some cases, individuals involved in corruption may face civil penalties, including being barred from holding public offices or certain positions in private companies. This serves as a deterrent to engaging in corrupt practices. One critical aspect of the PCA is that both giving and receiving bribes are offences. Let's elaborate on this. First, let's talk about giving bribes. Under the PCA, offering, promising, or giving any gratification to any person as an inducement or reward for doing or for not doing something in respect of any matter or transaction is a criminal offense. This means that even attempting to bribe someone is punishable. Next, let's talk about receiving a bribe. So similarly, soliciting, agreeing to receive, or accepting any gratification as an inducement or reward for performing or not performing any act is also an offense. So this ensures that both the briber and the recipient of the bribe are both held accountable. To illustrate, let's consider a scenario where a business person offers a gift to a government official to expedite a license approval. Both the businessman and the official can be prosecuted under the PCA for their respective roles in the corrupt transaction. Under Section 23 of the PCA, evidence shall not be admissible to show that any such bribe that is mentioned is customary in any profession, trade, vocation, or calling. What this means is that just because it is a practice or custom in this thing that you're doing, you cannot adduce evidence in court to show that, it's okay, it's part of the industry. You can't do that. Now, let's discuss some issues that foreigners may not be aware of regarding corruption in Singapore. Number one, strict enforcement. Unlike some countries where anti-corruption laws may be loosely enforced, Singapore takes its anti-corruption efforts very seriously. The Corrupt Practices Investigation Bureau is highly effective and leaves no stone unturned in investigating and prosecuting corruption cases. Number two, corporate liability. In Singapore, companies can be held liable for corruption offences committed by their employees. This means that businesses need to implement stringent anti-corruption and anti-bribery practices and training programs to ensure compliance by their employees. Next, whistleblower protection. Singapore has robust protections for whistleblowers who report corruption. This encourages individuals to come forward without fear of retaliation, which further strengthens the fight against corruption. Next, let's talk about cultural sensitivities. Foreigners may not realize that what is considered normal business practice in their own country can be deemed corrupt in Singapore. For instance, offering gifts or gratuities to government officials as a gesture of goodwill can be interpreted as bribery here. Also, in certain countries such as Indonesia and Malaysia, if you're unlucky to be caught or arrested by the police, there is a practice there to ask for tolong. Tolong in Malay means help. So if you ask the police for help, you are sort of like asking for a bribe, and if you give some money, in certain countries, they will let you go. Unfortunately, don't even think of doing this in Singapore. Finally, foreigners may not be aware of Singapore's high level of public trust in the government and public institutions. And this means that any corruption case, no matter how small, can lead to significant public outcry and damage one's reputation. So, in summary, corruption is taken very seriously in Singapore with severe penalties for those found guilty. It is crucial for both locals and foreigners to understand and adhere to these laws to maintain the integrity and fairness that Singapore is known for. Thanks for watching this video. Please click subscribe to stay tuned for the latest legal updates.